Hi, Mom.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you're around or not.
Yeah, I don't think we got anything going on there except for maybe a quick powwow with Greg Saturday. Yeah, we were already at Chaz's basketball game. Man, he is burning it up. He's leading the league in scoring.
Really?
Really?
All right.
Yeah, he's on fire. He gets that 1.5-inch vertical leap from his old man.
Okay. Valerie's in Florida. Too bad for Valerie.
Oh, man.
Everybody else is here. That's okay. And Valerie was nice enough to say, "Are you sure you have a quorum?" Otherwise, she just said, "Listen."
She was going to give up her
Florida
trip?
No, she was going to give up her drinking or whatever she was going to do tonight and come in by phone.
We're just thinking it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
Oh, can we do that? We've not
Yeah.
discussed that.
You can.
We were coming down the driveway and I told James driving. I said, turn left, turn left.
And the fact that we're live streaming, she
I
can
go, slide left, slide left. Well, then we got,
You can actually
before you got to the
I-
beach, there's that one hill,
just
that's
haven't
way
got
up.
technically,
This, she's got one of the
I'll give you
renegades.
my meatballs.
solve some problems. I think that
We
would
got
solve a
halfway
lot
up
of issues.
and then just started sliding backwards, and like right into the guardrail.
So you guys get tired last
So,
night?
so the car's like 2 months old. She's already wrecked it. She wrecked it once. And I'm just, yeah. So I sat there and I tried to go forward, and every time I tried to go forward, I just had to go backwards. Finally,
I've had three guys every day.
finally we got Jeff. I said, I said,
I just didn't expect
I said, if it
that.
starts to scratch, I'll just stop it.
I
So we
just
go
didn't
back.
expect that.
And I went 20 feet backwards. I was thinking like 2 inches.
You know, you have to say,
Didn't hit, then I got ready to start.
That was wrong.
That was crazy.
Yeah, it was.
And the court charts, not having seen this thing.
It's just a monumental task. You know, one of my biggest problems is that the same gate, we're never there year over year. So everybody, you know, what are we supposed to do? I go, really?
Here's a freebie.
This is a rocket science game.
Sure, my six they have. Yeah. Okay, it is 6:59. Close enough.
Hey, Randy. Let's get this.
Okay.
7 o'clock.
Okay. All right, I'm going to call this January 16th, 2017 meeting of the Idaho Hills Board of Directors to order.
2018.
2018. I got to change my form.
It is 7 o'clock.
At least you know I can read.
I'm done for tonight. That's my last.
Thanks. Okay. First of all, may I have a motion to adopt the proposed agenda?
So I'll make that motion.
By Linda Lansinger and second by Dave Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion is carried. In terms of a president's report, I think maintenance has done an excellent job. Our roads are snowpacked, but go out on Hornsmill.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, ours are a little more level, but so I think the guys did a good job. And I even had some people, some drivers I have to compliment, actually slow down because it gets a little bit more narrow. Although there have been some others who keep going by, and I'm thinking, sooner or later we're going to have a side-by-side here. Whatever. We'll talk about the budget a little later. If you guys don't know it, the lodge opens tomorrow, and it's half-price hamburgers. So come on, it's been a while since I've been there. I'd also point out that the clubhouse has got a lot of good stuff going on. If you hadn't seen on the Facebook, they got a Dart League started, and you know that's especially in this time of year, it's great for Hideaway Hills members. And the last thing I'm going to mention is that security now has the ability and has been trained to send out e-blasts, so that if you do have a weather emergency, they can not only send out an e-blast, and I know a couple of them can do it on Facebook, or if in the past we've had issues where the lodge might have to be closed on a day with a weather emergency, and now we can get it out to the people. So we're moving along on a lot of fronts, and I think things are going well that way. That's all I've got. A lot of things are quiet with committees, as you saw with the committee reports. Okay. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Lapp, and as the secretary, have any correspondence?
I have none.
Okay. We got to train Krieger to do what you just did.
I'm not saying anything.
Will a member Will a member of the board make a motion to approve the minutes which you've seen and have been sent to you previously?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Krieger.
Second.
Second by Dwayne.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. This motion is carried. And now we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Tom?
As of December 31st, 2017, the funds in the Benton County Bank for the HAH committees were $90,374.92.
Any questions about any of those amounts you see in front of you? Tom's report? All right, Tom, you making a motion to approve?
Yes.
The report. Tom's making the motion to approve the report. Any second?
Second.
Second by Fritz. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. That motion is carried. I might follow up with the treasurer's report regarding. I know you're going to be disappointed, but we aren't going to have a 2018 budget to approve tonight. Those of you who've been on the board know that I have been griping since I've got to be president about the fact that you can't understand our financials. Now, I've run businesses up to $22 million, and I know how to look at financials. Chaz has run businesses over $100 million and knows how to look at financials, and neither he nor I can understand our financials. And that's historical. So back in November, we kind of alerted you that that $171,000 net profit was overstated and tried to take a whack at it to see how much, and we didn't have all the input we needed. Now Jim Sycophus on management, who's a CPA, has gone through it, and he's told us where we really are. And backing up, it's some of the things we noticed, or we knew. The dam assessment, the revenue we collect goes through our financials. And so does the stuff we spend on the dam and the interest on the dam. And then you add the fact that we weren't funding some of the funds that normally you fund. Capital and depreciation is really optional whether you fund those or not. You don't have to. You should if you want to buy stuff the following year or two. But for a while, we didn't have enough cash in the bank to fund, let's say, the new member fee, 50% of that going into amenities. So we didn't do that till the very end. And I add one more factor, the restaurant is $50,000 worse off than it was last year. So you add those things together. And what Jim is forecasting for December year end, and we don't have December statements because they have to go through the outside CPA for the year end adjustments. But he is forecasting a net loss, operating loss of $21,000. And I hate to be the guy to have to tell you that, but that's the facts, and we're not going to hold back. We're not in an emergency. We got cash in the bank. We're not in trouble. We got to take care of it. And the first pass of the budget, obviously Jim was basing a lot on last year. Well, we came up with a loss, and we are not going to give you guys a budget that doesn't have some profit. This morning on a conference call with a long one with Chaz and Jim Sycophus, Jim Krieger, myself, and Randy, we did find $25,000 that we are sure will not be spent again in 2018. A lot of stuff we do that one-time stuff, but we got to find another 25. Simple as that. We're not going after payroll. I would say our payroll increases are going to be the same as they would have been, in some cases a little more than they would have been if we had a good year. I mean, we need to keep our employees, and we're having employees already looking because of we're not the highest paying thing in the world. We're looking at all kinds of stuff. Motopay would be one example. It costs more to motopay. We love it. It'll last longer, but if you don't have the cash to do it right now, maybe you don't do that. Maybe you chip and seal that section next year.
Plus, we've been able to, accomplish what we set out to accomplish, and that's get the entire section of the main road.
Right, exactly.
So,
but that's the kind of stuff we're going to look at. But we really need to compare how much will that save. That's the thing. That it's going to be looking at all the line items in the budget. The guy next to me was in Florida last week, but he was making a lot of phone calls back here because he's agreed to put the financials in a report so we can understand them, so the members can understand them. And he's about 90% on the way.
We'll have it for the next meeting.
He'll have it.
Yeah.
And basically, it's going to take all those crazy things out of the operating side and put them aside. I wish that the damn assessment and expenses had been in a separate stupid bank account. But there was, because of billing reasons, I don't think we could have done that. So whatever. Where capital spending is going to be very, very tight. If we don't really need it, we're probably not going to buy it. It's going to be a tight year. And Chaz, one of the other things is that Jim Sikafus has got a monthly budget. We are going to have your financials will be budget to actual month by month. Here's what we said the budget's going to be, and here's where we came in, and do we need to adjust right now, or are we okay? Jim is working on the restaurant as well to get that. I mean, I'm comfortable with where we're going with the restaurant, but I mean, we've invested the money. We got to get the revenue to come back, but we can't last another year. I mean, we got to have a reasonable time frame. We say, wait, if this isn't going to work, we got to do something else. But we're also going to look at that to try to get the food costs and the revenue in line. So
that is for 50.
Well, but before you start, I want to give Jim and/or Chaz, and am I expressing that as well as?
yeah, I mean, the goal here, gang, is to. I said it on this morning's call. I'm not putting together a budget that I can't stand behind, and I'm not going to. If I tell you, we're going to invest $5,000 to save 10, we're going to show you where and when we save the 10. Okay. A lot of times it's easy to move 20 grand around here, or 30 around here, and then everybody forgets about it until it's time to figure out where it went and did it work. I think we've invested a lot in the lodge. We got a great manager there now. We bought some equipment. It's time to prove our theory, and that's what we're setting out to do in 2018. I mean, there have to be ROIs to some of these investments that we've made, and we're gonna find out. So, but I'm not about putting something together just to show it to you guys. I don't work that way. So,
and I have to say that Chaz really inherited this. Very short while ago, and we were both looking at those financials, and that's what we had to look at. One other thing I have to say, just to clarify too, the idea of not funding accounts, it's been typical. It's been the history of the last quarter when cash flow tends to be tight because maybe you spent more than you thought in some areas. You didn't fund those accounts, and you waited until January when a lot of people pay annually, and then you caught up. But Chaz pointed out this morning, that's robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're using 2018 to balance 2017, and that's got to stop.
Quite honestly, I mean, that money should be waterfall over a 12-month period, and we're using it in the front half. And if we continue to do it that way, then we're going to be right back where we are today, this time next year. So we got to work our way out of it.
Oh, fine. The issues are there. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We've got a few things that have cost us more money than we expected. We had a fair amount of startup costs with the lake this year. We had to do some different things there. Those are things that we had to do at the time. We did them. Again, we had some cash balances that had built up over the last couple of years. Now that we had to expend them in this current year. The transition we had. I mean, we had essentially 2 months in the summer where the revenues were in the pits because we didn't, we were transitioning from our from Gerard to Brandon and then to Matt. And so those are usually your big months. Those are your winning months, is when everybody's here during the summer and you get a lot of business. We didn't have it this year. So hopefully we'll keep track of that. I think we're gonna go out more aggressively in terms of even marketing outside of the hills with the food service. I mean, that's the rest of the stuff is really pretty straightforward. As Chaz says, we will, if we don't have the money. I mean, I think the revenue stream is pretty straightforward. It's easily understandable, except for the food service. That's the one place that's truly a variable. And we'll just have to stay on top of that.
Does Matt have P&L experience?
I think so, yes.
That's great.
I think he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are talking with, I've talked with him twice here at the year end and looking forward to 2018. I mean, it's set up, he has an incentive-based compensation plan, but he's got to make money for it to happen. So there's every reason for him to continue to do that. You know, he's been with us 4 months. Right. So.
And the Blankenship is in there, and Blankenship definitely has P&L experience.
John and I have been working on that. So.
I've got a question.
Wait, Eric.
That's right.
You know what, Jim, for the answer.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Would it be possible for committees to give money back from amenities to Hideaway Hills? I mean, in other words, if social decided they didn't need to do these projects this year or some of the projects,
there's nothing in the rules that would prohibit that from happening.
That would be good.
that's
They're virtually, I've looked at the rules very closely in terms of all the financial operations. It speaks a lot to assessments, what we do, where the money goes to. It says that 50% of the money from the new member fee goes to the committees for the amenities.
Because we don't have to do anything. I mean, we're okay down here. So, I mean, I'd be happy to talk to social about it.
It crossed my mind that some businesses would say you're not going to allow those amenities to be expended, but we gave the committees a commitment.
But there's a pool of money there that could be got at if committees decided not to.
Give us a try first. If we need to come back, if we can't figure it out, I think
I would
we
say
would.
that, you know, if what we're doing isn't working, there's going to be a vehicle for us to be able to throw our hand up on a monthly basis. You know, part of what I was going to cover here in a couple minutes is the fact that we're going to take at least one of our 2 management committee meetings each month, and we're going to go over the financials so that they're out in the open, everybody sees them, we have a chance to discuss them, and everybody knows if they're voting on something that, you know, whether we're tight on money or we're not. Because believe it or not, throughout the year, even though you've got a great baseline budget, there's things that happen. There's storms, there's huge storms that come through, like came through last year. I mean, there's just things you can't sit down and predict, and we're going to have those things. But we're going to know where we're at and what we can do, and if we need to reach in or get or deploy some of those initiatives that, you know, like Dave's referencing, then we'll do it. It's that simple.
Any other questions of anybody about the budget? Jim?
Not particularly a question, but something that maybe the new members might not know, but it was only about 5 years ago, we had a surplus of $750,000, Jim?
You know, but the most we ever had in the balance was about $450,000.
450, but we were below on the budget, this type of thing. So it can be done, and I just wanted to pass that along. I mean, we had some tremendous expenses that we didn't plan on prior to this thing.
Well, I mean, the numbers of it, I mean, again, there are fund balances right now in depreciation and the capital account of nearly $200,000, and we're not broke in the actual fund. The question is, I mean, and I think Chaz phrased it correctly, is making sure that we set the direction right for 2018. It's a simple budget. I mean, it's $1.6 million is what we get from assessments, and then we get a bunch of other smaller pieces. There's 160 comes in to the roads, and then that's what you spend. And you know, nearly $1 million is your staff, right off the top of it. And so we try to fund a little over $200,000 a year, each year, to go into capital and depreciation. So that's a little over 10% of your total budget. And again, the food service is the one that we have to, we have to decide what we want to be. I mean, are people comfortable with us being 100, supplementing or subsidizing at the level of $100,000 to $150,000 a year? I mean, we had it at one point, we got it to about 40,000 in the hole. That was our high water mark that we did. So, can we get back to that? Because yeah, that's $100,000 more in the system. And that makes this conversation to be quite easy.
And I'd like to add too to this is a new problem, okay?
Yep.
Throughout the history of Hideaway Hills, the lodge has been an up and down proposition year to year. And there have been years when we had to shut the lodge down, and so, I mean, this isn't anything that's just happened over the last couple of years, but it's as I said today, it's certainly a 1,500-pound gorilla as opposed to an 800-pound gorilla in the total scheme of things. So we've got, it still looms out there. We gotta figure it out.
2016, we almost burned the place down, and
Yeah.
2017, we had the issues with staffing changes.
Well, even stuff like when the new member fees and amenities was 20,000, that didn't screw up the budget as much as when this year we approved 135,000, and that's going through those financials and screwing them up.
Well, again,
We'll get it.
We got it.
You'll get it.
We got it done. We'll just.
Anything else on that?
I did just get a note here that it'd be helpful if we could use our microphones. That's not coming across well on, if we can speak up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Jazz, you're on.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
That's the first time I've heard you, Jim.
And so it begins.
I didn't even know you were here.
We've got delinquency total as of 12/15 was $39,103. As of 1/15, it's a total of $43,244. The roads as of 2/15, delinquency total was $4,038, and as of 1/15, it's $4,058. The dam assessment total is $368,643. In keeping with wanting to invite our key players to our management committee meetings, a couple weeks ago we had Rick O'Neill in to have a conversation with him. This meeting we dedicated to Randall Rose, who's the head of our security force. And we gave him about an hour and a half of the meeting just to have a general open conversation. In doing so, we want to be at ease with him, and we just want to talk. Some of the things we discussed were obviously staffing. At this stage of the game, he feels as though we're down one full-time person. Along with staffing came pay. He says that he knows for a fact that he's got 2 or 3 guys that are out interviewing and or looking for jobs, not because they don't like working here, but because they can't afford to work here. A lot of what they get above and beyond their normal pay obviously comes in the form of overtime. There's a concern if you add another full-time individual in there that some of the overtime that they survive on goes away, and it's a double-edged sword. Some of the things we heard when we were talking to them was that, they had heard that somebody in maintenance got a raise last year, or we brought somebody back that we used to have and paid them more money. And I just told Randall, I said, look, I go, well, I will commit to you to make sure that we look at this and come up with a game plan to make this better for these guys. One of the things we won't do is entertain people that say, you did that, you need to do this, and we're not going to operate like that. We're going to do this thing based on merit and what we can afford to pay people, and we're going to pay the ones that are the better ones and the longer term ones accordingly. And we've got a firm commitment from Randall that he'll watch the overtime and manage it. And we have a great degree of confidence that he does that. Some of the other things that we talked about were, recently we had a suggestion that one of the members felt as though the boat that we use on the lake in the summer doesn't look official enough to be a security boat, and suggested maybe that because our current boat is beyond its useful life, that we look at buying a different type of boat. We discussed that. Randall felt as though if we have to transport people, that type of boat wouldn't be conducive to our needs. But we let him know that we're willing to look at those types of things, but we're going to take him as a partner before we make any decisions related to that. One of the things that is scheduled in the 2018 capital is to replace the current Toyota pickup truck that they use. We gave Randy the green light to go ahead and put that in motion. We're gonna decommission the current one, keep it, and see if we can possibly get anything out of the Jeep that we use. But quite honestly, we don't know how we would get it to where it needs to go if somebody will give us anything for it. So, but the bottom line is, no big secret, the hills are tough on the security vehicles, but it's time to replace it, and I think that that's one of our key tools that we give the guards. Some of the other things we talked about were accident protocol and training. What do we currently do to train new employees? I was pleasantly surprised that there is a process in place to do that. Can it be better? Yeah, we discussed that, and we've all discussed in these meetings training for the guards and some outside help in coming up with a better way to do it. And we've got people that are experts in this field, and they've kind of let us throw their hat in the ring. And I saw some emails going back and forth between Randy and the individual that stepped up to help out as recently as today. Along with that, went to package handling, and are communicating to Randall that no big secret. We're looking at what it would take to build a new guard shack with enough room to be able to handle packages properly. The guys are out looking right now for some individuals to help us put together some blueprints so that we can properly bid out or look at what it's going to cost us to build a new guard shack, and more to follow on that. Package handling, we continue to try to come up with a better way to have members address their packages and who they're dealing with in a manner so that it can streamline the process once we get the packages in hand. We currently take the packages from both the Bremen Post Office here at the Lodge and the Sugar Grove Post Office at the front gate, and the guards are now involved in helping to process that and making sure that some of those packages get directly to the member because of the way that they are being addressed. Had some spirited debate during that conversation on our resident expert, Paul, who does know a lot about this. We need to get better at this, and we need help from our members to do it. We have people that are having packages shipped here in their company name, and the company name doesn't sync up to anything we've got in the way of a directory by lot number, and those are some of the challenges that we could easily fix if we can come up with some protocol there and everybody adheres to it. We want everybody to get their packages, and everybody wants to get their packages, so more to follow on that. But it was a great session, and so was the session with Rick O'Neill. I hope to be able to do this twice a year so that we can talk about progress the next time we have him. in, but it's not a, hey, we're gonna sit here and grill you type of conversation. I don't think Randall felt like that. I think he was nervous, and so was Rick when they sat down with us. And our job is to put them at ease and have an open conversation with them. We had a suggestion from one of our members that we be able to show the amenity disbursement to the committees based on what we all committed to when we sat down and did it a couple weeks back. And I think Greg, we kind of vetted it pretty quickly and all decided that we had no idea why we didn't currently do that, but that we were going to try to make a run at posting that or publishing that in the February Echo. I think it's a great idea. It literally lets the members see what each committee got, and obviously that's based on what they said they needed. The budget, like I don't want to beat that any further, but we will be in a position once we've got all these conversations done to be able to dedicate a half hour or so in the beginning of each or every other meeting during the month and go over it in detail so that everybody can see if we're plus or minus in each category. And I think it'll give everybody a better understanding. And last but not least, we're actively interviewing people for our office staff. Brenda is still slated to retire the first part of March. We're actively training Penny in Brenda's place, and we were running ads and getting resumes in from various sources for Penny, the replacement for Penny. So more to follow there. We hope to have that nailed down here pretty quickly, which will give us a proper amount of time to get somebody trained. Obviously, we're not going to, train somebody for a month and a half, and then all of a sudden they're going to have 39 years worth of experience. But we got some pretty good people, and we hope to find at least one more to add to the staff. So anybody have any questions?
Just one clarification. The Tacoma was approved, but the guard shack, we want to find out what it was going to cost, but that has not been approved.
Yeah, and in Randy's defense, he had that on his portion of the agenda. I asked him to take it off because right now we're not in a position to really drill down to what we think our needs are first. We need a set of blueprints to do that. We need to get it out and get it properly looked at and make sure that what we're doing is structurally sound and that it includes everything that we think we need. At first pass, if you just use general commercial building numbers multiplied by the square footage, it jumped off the page at us. But I don't think that's where we're at. So in order to get to where we need to be before we can even talk turkey, we got a little more work to do and hope to be able to report more on that this time next month. It is definitely something that is not going to go away. It's a matter of, if we do it this year, how are we going to get it done? And if not, then we're going to table it and do it when we've got the proper funding to do it, and do it right and do it like it should be. This needs to include long-term sustainability because you only get one time to do this every 20 years or so, and we got to get it right. And if you go down there and you spend any amount of time at the guard shack while it's in little guard shack, there are some things I would reference that one of our guards slipped and fell on the ice. Not uncommon. It's snowing, it's icy, it's cold. But when you go down there and you look at where he slipped, we've got a concrete sliding board right outside the front door in the form of a little ramp that gets us down to ground level, and that's what he slipped on. I mean, those are the kind of things we need to think through and kill going into this next project, so we're not dealing with that kind of issue.
Questions for Jess?
You said that the Tacoma was coming out of the capital improvement. You meant
Depreciation, I'm
Depreciation,
sorry.
I just wanted to
My bad,
clarify that,
yep.
I was sure.
Where are you at with the new member on management? Is it?
Good point. I think the closer we get to getting our financials into a place where I can understand them and I can work with them, the more I understand what type of person we need. Quite honestly, I've been waiting until I found out what we were going to be able to put together before I could determine whether or not I needed somebody with financial skills or if I needed somebody that could help us better assess where we're at with our equipment for the purpose of the depreciation schedule. I think we're getting very close. Have interviewed both individuals that have thrown their hat in the ring, both great candidates, and they're two different skill sets. And I think by the next time we get together, we'll have somebody in place. So again, I just wanted to make sure I knew what I needed before I made that selection.
Anybody else? Okay, Randy?
Thank you, Mr. President. Our ongoing project of replacing the front door, which has been ongoing since April, as a matter of fact, is now completed. He did it, Chancey Stewart, who is a member, has his own company, replaced that door in about two and a half days. Did a great job. It's up there for you to take a look at. The only thing left to do is paint it. I've contacted Vandy, and we've got a quote from him. I'll take that to the management committee, and we will get that, at least the inside of it painted, and then once the weather breaks, he'll do the outside. So, or hopefully he'll do.
And I might add, there'll be a year-long celebration starting in April.
Well, hopefully we'll get the painting done before April.
We'll have a time capsule and some other things.
Yeah.
We said when hell froze over.
Hell has frozen over.
So, okay, and by the way, he did a great job. Also, last time we had the health department in there, had some concerns in the kitchen. During the shutdown here, maintenance went in and took care of several of those most important items. There's still a few left to be taken care of, but they did a pretty good job. One of them was really going to be a tough situation, and because we added on the pizza room here many years ago, there was nothing ever done with the original facade, the stone facade. It was just left out there, or left up, and that was one of the things that the health department said, that you have to have, if you're going to prepare food in that room, you have to have cleanable surfaces. So they have framed that out, put it in FRP panels. It looks really nice right now. They did a great job. So that is done, and so I was glad to see that completed. One of the things that in our discussion with Randall at our management committee meeting was the fact of the issue with lack of yards or lot signs. So we have chipped away with that on the last few years here. It's with a bunch of new members that we've had. It's still kind of a challenge. I talked to Ginger. She's putting out an article in the Echo, getting a little tougher with the lot sign issue. We're posting that possibility of lot signs where you can purchase them in the Echo also, and then I'll be following through with that once we get that article out there. It is in the building code. You have to have a lot sign. Randall's concern was that if there's an injury or a 911 call, that security has to lead the first responders to that location. If they don't have a lot number, those folks are in trouble.
It's a life and death situation.
It is,
yeah.
And people haven't understood that for some reason or other. I have no idea why. But we're going to get it. But it is in the rules. It's in the building code. You must have a lot number. We're holding any building deposits until people get their lot number up, and and we've done that. And so we're getting more strict on that, simply because of, like Chaz says, it is a life and death situation. And maintenance or security has to be able to find that location. We had a huge conversation about the docks this year, both club docks and member docks. Because of the configuration of the new dam, it was going to be tricky trying to figure out how to save the club docks and save the member docks at the same time. Rick mostly finally started really focusing on that and came up with a great idea, so we were able to disconnect the club docks from the walkways and allow the lake to go down. Now I think it's coming back up now, but because of the ice and everything, but we were able to figure that out, and we will be able to proceed with that for the years on out now. So that was a great idea Rick had for that, to support the runways that go out into the lake. Snow removal. Our first couple snows, we did a great job. Today we fell a little bit behind simply because it just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And the guys started yesterday. They extended their shift yesterday. They sent some of the guys home. They came back overnight. And this morning they were just beat. And unfortunately, I had to call them back in this morning because it just kept coming. And I hated to do that, but the safety of the membership is utmost importance. Safety of our maintenance staff is also important. And they did get some rest, but not very much. I think, as far as I know, there's still people here now. So what I ask of the membership is to have a little bit of patience. Those guys can only do so much. And unfortunately, I had to call them back in, got them out of bed, come back in and do what they had to do. But they have done that and got in pretty good shape right now. One of the things that we came up with, actually Paul Heimberger came up with in one of our management committee meetings, is with our preparation for the new deck. We took a look at the concrete out here, which has been deteriorating quite a bit over the years, and decided that was something that was going to have to be done before we put that deck in, because we wouldn't be able to get a concrete truck around here. And so we got 3 bids on that, and we did pick a contractor for that, and I contacted him, and he'll be in. He promised he would be in here before we started the deck. So at the next time it's warm enough to start that project, he will start that project. And that was Ricketts Excavating. I don't know if any of you folks know, you probably heard of Ricketts Excavating. It's changed hands here several years ago. Jeff Rader is now the owner of that company. He did some work for us on the Barrow area and did a great job. We asked him to bid the dam. He decided he didn't want to do that, a big a project. He has done some other work around the hill, so he'll be a good addition to that staff. Chaz mentioned the security vehicle. We made contact with the person that we purchased the one we have now off of. And so I'm supposed to get some prices off of that probably as soon as Thursday. He's going to have some prices on that. The last thing I have is sediment trap repair. We had talked about that. As you know, with the heavy rains we had earlier in the year, it washed out some of the check dam. And so we were able to get material brought back in to repair that, and that hasn't been done now. It looks pretty good. So we're glad to get that done, preparing for spring rains possibly.
And we're officially scheduled to have it cleaned for the first time as well.
Right.
So
yeah.
Second time, we had it done.
Yeah, we had it done during the work up there.
The rains were hard on it last year.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
Is there a game plan for Eagle Claw with the way that all that was redug out? And I know we were plan on, but part of the reason for bringing that piece out was so that we could keep the silt and so forth out or be able to get to it. Is that part of our plan?
Well,
or just as needed?
ODNR has a plan for us for Eagle Claw, that a repair plan that we need to take care of, and we're going to get that as soon as we possibly can.
I'm sorry, I'm not talking about the dam. I'm
You're talking about dredging type.
The dredging and all that. Yeah.
Not at this time.
Okay.
Not at this time. We don't have a plan for that.
Randy, couldn't you put up a couple of those cement things like you got between Tomahawk and Eagle, or not Eagle Claw, Arrowhead, thank you, I was trying to spell it backwards, Lake. Couldn't you put in a couple of those back up in the valley, just to break that up?
Actually, when Jim Downer redid that, he did dig a section deep for sediment as it comes in, and we just have to get in there and clean that out when it starts filling up. But he did dig a deeper spot right there that we can get to with our equipment.
Oh, okay.
To clean out, so that is a possibility as long as we can get to it.
Anytime we have a big rain, that whole end of the lake really just gets muddy. You can see how it's a lot coming in. So just great. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Randy? Okay. All right. Moving on to committee and business reports. And I had that question on the agenda before we saw the committee reports. And it's this time of year. But we go through a lot of paper here, and you do need it during the meeting. But I'm wondering, if we email those committee reports to you, do you still want a hard copy here at the meeting, or can we do away with it?
Do away with it.
Okay, all right, so we'll not get that hard copy anymore. All right, and going around the room, anything from any of the board members who are over committees? Jim, I'll start with you.
No.
Go ahead.
Nothing.
Fritz?
Lakes.
Lakes.
Lakes. The pontoon launch, they would like to schedule that for Saturday, April 28th. So we would need board approval for that.
Okay, Linda, why don't we just handle that one then? Linda is making a motion to have the pontoon launch scheduled for Saturday, April 28th. Can we have a second?
Second.
By Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You are scheduled.
And part two, they would also, the Lakes Committee would like to have $600 from their committee fund to be designated for the after party, the pizza party.
Okay, so Linda is now making a motion to allocate $600 from Lake Committee funds for the pizza party after the pontoon launch on April 28th. Second? Second. By Dwayne. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motions are carried.
Thank you.
Okay. Jim?
Yeah, I got one. This is just a payment. Tom will get you the form with it. It's for $300 to pay the engineer that's been working on the dam project, or on the deck project. Wayne Custer, he's been consulting with us on an ongoing basis to make sure all the things are up to spec, and it's for the time period from April 2017 through the end of this calendar year 2017. So
this is the committee's food fellowship.
It'll be food fund and fellowship money. So $300 for that.
What does the time period have to do with you? You lost it.
That's his bill. That's how much. That's all he's billed us.
Oh, okay.
All the work he's done with us from April till now.
Is he finished?
No, he'll have to sign it.
Oh.
We'll finish.
Okay, but
he will have to sign the plans when we submit them.
will there be another bill?
Yes.
Okay. That's
Yes.
right. So he's going to check them. All right.
Oh,
so
yeah. He's still working with us, but he has not billed us anything.
All right. So from April till what?
December 31st.
Okay. All right. So Jim's making a motion to pay Wayne Custer $300 for engineering regarding the new deck from Fund, Food, and Fellowship funds for his work between April and December 31st. Can we have a second? By Fritz. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. That motion is carried.
That's it.
Eric?
I have no committee reports.
You sure you heard that? I wonder out there. Tom?
Nothing.
Dave?
Nothing.
Okay, all right, so, all right, now, we've got open forum. Is there any, do you want to speak now?
That's Jeff.
I know it's Jeff.
Yeah, the only thing that brought up to my mind is, you've got a committee or a group that are putting money up so far to redo the deck and landscaping. Why would we plan on building it, redoing what we got? They're already got plans and what have you to replace the whole.
Well, we have a fundraising, I'll take that for you.
Yeah.
We have a fundraising effort going on to raise enough money to extend the deck around the end of the lodge. And so we've been raising money with that. The commitments now are over $40,000. And so we have a plan that's been developed, but we have to finalize it. But we have an architect who's done the design for us, and then we've engaged with a professional engineer, a structural engineer, so that when we actually do the building, he will stamp those plans with his PE, his professional engineering stamp. So we'll have that. So it'll be on record. So this is the money for the work he's already spent with us, consulting on us to develop the plan.
I didn't know whether that group, that extra donate committee or group was along with Iowa Hills.
No, it's separate money though. No club funds are going to be used for that. It's money that's been raised from individuals just to do the deck. Does that answer your question?
Well, I was just wondering why the Hills is planning on spending their own money on what we've got.
The Hills isn't spending their money.
Okay.
We have to approve it because it goes, it's just
for the designing?
That's still coming out of the donated funds. None of the Hills money is going in.
This is part of the project.
Even though committees spend out of their funds, we have to approve it because the committee funds technically are Hills funds, but the committees are in control.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on then. Under unfinished business, Randy, you want to give us an update on the training? I know you've been in contact with her.
Yes. I had a little trouble making contact with this member, and actually I did. She came, who is qualified for, the issue is we wanted to train our security guards a little bit better on conflict management with members. And it's kind of stemmed from some of the stuff that happened out on the lake this year. So I've contacted her. She brought back a really good proposal on how to go about this. She's going to do it for for basically nothing, and all the time it's going to take to do this. And so what I did in the meantime, because I kind of wanted to see where we were with this as far as security, and I printed off a little test off the internet on conflict management. I gave it to Randall. He took the test. He submitted it to the rest of his guards, and they all but him failed it. He didn't get a very good grade on it either. He talked to him. He says, be perfectly honest about this, and basically they failed it. So, which means that yes, they do need this type of training, and so we'll talk about it more at the management committee meeting, and we'll get that going here pretty quick.
It'll be so helpful.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, our staff is great at knowing, where they need to go to remediate a problem with the compactor, or they've got a very firm grip on the way Hideaway Hills runs and know it like the back of their hand. It is necessary to get them some formal training in some of the other areas that quite honestly we haven't put them through. Right. And it's starting to rear its ugly head, so we need to meet it head on. And that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we can reaffirm the e-votes.
Real quick,
Oh, I'm sorry, Fritz.
I had voted yes on the club votes, but I only replied to Tom, not the whole group.
Oh, that's good.
I
Okay.
thought I'd had it. I just looked, but I only sent it to Tom.
Now I see. All right.
So we're
Well, good.
4-4.
Yeah, we can always amend them. That's why we reaffirm them now. So, all right, I'll go through it. They're all approved 8-0. So I'll just read them. These are the ones the e-votes we approved on the 22nd of December. We e-voted to approve the sale of Club Lot 160204 for $10,000. On the 28th of December, if I said November, I meant December. 28th of December, we e-voted to reimburse Bill McClinchy from the Chapel Committee Funds 3763. He paid to Live Technologies for repair of the sound system speakers and XLR and cable. On the 29th of December, we e-voted to reimburse Roy Smoot 6369 from 2018 amenity funds for replacement for Christmas lights. And on the 8th of January, we e-voted to reimburse Cabot Ray 2741 from Chapel Committee funds for notebooks purchased for the Chapel Choir. All those were approved 8-0 by e-vote. Can I have a motion to reaffirm the approvals?
I'll make that motion.
Dave Miller made the motion, second.
I'll second that.
By Jim Krieger, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that is passed. Okay, now I've been asked to get dates approved for the blood drive. This blood drive, by the way, this is it's Craig Stedden and thank you, Tina Brown. Put this on in cooperation with the American Red Cross, and they just handle it and as volunteers. They're just good people. So the drives that will be on Saturday at 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. are scheduled for January 27th, the 24th, the 28th, and the 29th. Excuse me, January 27th, get it right, Greg. March 24th, July 28th, and September 29th. And then one on Tuesday, May 29th from 2 to 7 p.m. All of these are in the great rooms, and I just like to get approval for those dates for the blood drives.
I kind of need to make the motion because I've already put it in my notes that way.
Oh, good.
So I'd like to make a motion.
I'm just telling you the dates. He's making the motion.
That we approve all those dates.
Can anybody say? I can't make a motion anyway. Can anybody second that? Fritz second.
I believe that's a first.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. That is passed. Okay, now, Mr. Left.
Yes.
Your name's on it next.
Yes. I would like to make a motion to approve Kathy Clevenger, Jim Krieger, Ginger Reed, Greg Patassin, and Gordon Vink as members of the nominating committee.
Second.
Second.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that is passed. They'll be starting now. Well, we changed this to make sure we start in January because we actually have to have the names in by April, and people want to think about it. So, Eric?
Okay, so we had a bunch of stuff that got sent across for ACC rule changes. You guys all have a copy of it. It's been sent to you in your email, and I'd like to make a motion to approve said changes.
The rules now.
The rules.
We're talking about the rules.
Yes, the ACC procedures and rules.
Can we have a second, and then we can discuss it after that?
I'll second that.
Second by Dave Miller. I just think we should note that not only the rules, but the procedures, they're the brainchild of Dennis Aubrey, who just took it upon himself to say, hey, we need to tighten up, and did an excellent job. We met first with Carl Grasnow, and then we met again with Dennis, and then we met with the entire ACC committee, and that's a good committee. Those people, I mean, they change the stuff, and they come up with language Randy shaking his head, he was there. They're good at coming up with language, and these are the rules that they have, rule change they've recommended. You've got it, and the changes, not the procedures, the rules, yes. They are in red. We sent it out, hopefully you had a chance to look at it. I'd say the only really significant thing here is the fine structure at the bottom. It's significant, and it's because there are members who just go ahead and do things without getting architectural control approval. And so we're saying, hey, we're going to put it out there, and there's going to be a fine if you don't do it. And the fine continues every month until you get the thing fixed. That's the situation. So we want to read through these. Are you comfortable with it?
I do need to clarify, my motion is for the rules only.
Okay, all in favor of approving these rule changes? Any opposed? All right, these rule changes are approved. By the way, the Constitution Committee also looked at these too, so they've been looked at. They also Dennis came up with a set of procedures. This was the subject of a lot of discussion. Eric is the board rep there, and he was sitting in as well. And what this is all about is ACC doing things in a very prescribed way and telling them when somebody's going to ask for a building permit, they're going to get a copy of this, and so they're going to know what to expect. So, Eric?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve these new procedures.
You have a second? Second. Fritz? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. I just lost my agenda. Okay. Is there any other new business to come in front of the board? Okay. Eric, we have any new members?
I have some new members that I'd like to tell you guys about. Randall Barkus and Bonnie Bodner, lots 391, 92, and 93. Clay and Chastity DeSantis, lots 1581 and 1582. William J. France, lot 592. And Charles and Rebecca Helber, lot 22.
Are you making a motion to approve?
I'd love to make a motion to approve these new members.
Can we have a second? For Linda Lonsinger, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the new members are approved. Any other additional business?
I'd just like to congratulate the chapel committee for the Christmas Eve service.
Right, it was really
record.
excellent.
Yeah.
They did a tremendous job, and they do it every year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but this had to be the best.
That was great.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I got something. Can we buy the guards an ice auger? A little $59 5-inch ice auger. They're freaking out when people are getting on the ice, telling them it's not safe. And I've been ice fishing for 42 years, and I know what's safe. There's a chart that tells you what's safe, how many people can be on 4 inches of ice, and how many people can be on 6 inches of ice. And, I mean, we were out ice fishing the other day, and we were told that the guards were looking for the girls because they were walking on Lake Eagle Claw. We're standing on 8 inches of ice. I could have driven my car out there. So I don't want the guards worrying about members that are out on the ice if it's safe.
We've seen that a couple times. We've had concerned calls from members here over the last 2 or 3 weekends. And while we're not experts in the field, we're willing to learn. And,
there's a chart online. You just pull it up. It tells you what safe ice is, and it's a $59 ice auger.
Posted one on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and
so
I would note too that the guards were looking for the girls and not you guys. So
so if we give them this auger, they cut through, then there's an incident. What's our liability?
Oh, well, no, I'm not saying they're gonna say it's safe. I just want them to know it's safe. I don't want them to go around calling everybody up saying, hey, it's safe to go out on the ice. I just don't want them worried about people that are out on the ice if it's 7 or 8 inches thick or whatever safe ice is.
I think everything that we've done to date is centered around telling them it may not be safe.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I don't think anything comes with a guarantee, nor do I think we're willing to endorse, what the ice thickness is throughout the entire lake.
Sure.
But to Dave's point, I mean, if we've got people that do know that what they're doing is safe, far be it for us to tell you with the lack of knowledge that we have that it's not.
Dave, if we did that, would you propose that they would go out and check each lake?
I would think so. Yeah, they'd want to check the ones that people use all the time for sure. It only takes a second to get through the ice.
The augers go through really quick.
Yeah, it doesn't take any time at all.
Let us talk to Randall and figure that out. I mean, one of the things I don't want to do this year is make commitments on his behalf without getting him as a partner, because we've done that far too many times. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a great idea. And so.
I mean, Dave,
we'll
being
circulate.
out there, is there differential thickness though on this? Because this is.
Well, there's a couple
this
of
lake
spots.
has moving water.
There's a
as
couple of
opposed to-
spots on the big lake that, like a Four Seasons that never freeze.
Right.
Like in front of Bucky's house, and then right out in the middle, there's a gas well or something.
Yeah.
There's some spots around the spillways where it never really freezes. And, but, I mean, honestly, for the most part, the lakes have been safe for the last 3 weeks, maybe 4.
Well, I mean, I grew up playing pond hockey, and we were always, out on the ice. But that was a lake that would always, you could tell it froze. Like, it froze completely over. And yeah, once we got 3 to 4 inches of ice, and we knew we were good to go.
Yeah.
And of course, there'd be 30 ice fishermen out there all winter long, eating in their shanties and driving, snowmobiles and everything else out. But I just always was concerned with this lake because it has issues that I'm not used to. And from having been there.
Right.
One of the things that we've done is, because there is no rule that says you can't be out on the ice.
Right.
Is that why we have sent security out there to tell the people the ice may not be safe. But we haven't thrown anybody off.
But you're saying there is a rule, is it?
I said there is no
There is no rule.
There is
Okay,
no
thank
rule.
you.
There's no rule.
Gotcha, man. Thank you, okay.
Actually, it'd probably be a good idea, because somebody's gotta go out and tell them, and if it's not, that it may not be safe, if it isn't safe, then
You'll know the minute you drill a hole.
Yeah, if I drill the hole, maintenance could drill the holes and tell the guards, well, the ice is 8 inches thick, and if we get a freeze,
It is at that point.
At that area.
well, you have to,
It pretty much is everywhere if it is there. I mean, if you're drilling a hole in front of your boat dock or wherever it may be, it's pretty typical that it's gonna be that thickness everywhere.
Well, let's defer this one to management, because it could be maintenance or security that's involved, and you guys talk it over.
Yeah, let us circulate with them, but I agree with Dave though, as far as that, the thickness and it being even, with the exception of a couple of places. I mean, I've been out there on snowmobiles and it does freeze pretty evenly with the exception of those areas.
And it's 8 inches out there. Ooh, okay.
It was on Eagle Claw the other day.
All right.
I'll believe it. I mean, it's cold since it's not been above freezing.
Okay,
Yeah, anyways.
we'll take that up.
Yep.
Any other business? All right, well then, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Jim Krieger and seconded by Linda Lansinger at the same time. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
It's 8:04.
Okay.
Great lines.
There we go. In unison.
Yes.
Okay. Jeff just went to the bathroom.
Greg,
You
you
shut
want me to put
everything
these up,
down.
or you think it's necessary?
I don't think it's necessary tonight.
Turn that off.
Jeff returns.
And we had no problems with the video
I know.
tonight. It didn't bail out on us. Now why, I have no idea.
Dave, I remember one time, my partner had a snowmobile out there. And I'm telling you what, my friend, that's probably more fun than.
Oh, man.